February 14th rolls around, and while everyone else is panic buying roses at gas stations or refreshing restaurant reservation apps, you're genuinely confused about what all the fuss is about. Not in a bitter way, not because you got dumped or had a bad experience, you just don't get it. And honestly, you're starting to wonder if something's wrong with you because everyone around you seems to have bought into this collective hallucination that this specific Tuesday in February matters more than any other day. Here's the thing though. Psychologists have actually studied people like you, and what they found is way more interesting than the simple, oh, you're just cynical explanation everyone keeps throwing around. If this sounds familiar, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. I promise we're going somewhere with this. So let's start with what's actually happening in your brain when Valentine's Day approaches and you feel absolutely nothing. There's this concept in psychology called social script theory that explains how we internalize cultural narratives about how we're supposed to behave in certain situations. Weddings, funerals, birthdays, holidays, these all come with scripts, expected behaviors, emotional responses that society has predetermined for you. Valentine's Day is one of the most rigid scripts we have. You're supposed to want it, you're supposed to participate, and if you don't, people assume you're either lying or damaged. But here's what researchers have found. Some people just don't internalize these scripts the same way others do. A study in the Journal of Social and Personal Relationships examined how individuals respond to culturally mandated romantic celebrations, and they found significant variation in what they called ritual engagement. Some people derive genuine meaning from participating in cultural traditions. Others feel like they're performing in a play they never auditioned for. Neither response is wrong, they're just different cognitive approaches to social expectations. If you're someone who doesn't care about Valentine's Day, you probably fall into one of a few categories that psychologists have identified. The first group is what researchers call low ritual investment individuals. These are people who don't particularly connect with symbolic gestures in general. You probably also don't care much about throwing coins in fountains, making birthday wishes, or any other culturally embedded ritual behavior. Your brain just doesn't assign emotional weight to symbolic acts the way other people's brains do. You'd rather hear "I love you" on a random Wednesday when someone actually feels like saying it than have it scheduled for February 14th because Hallmark decided that's when it counts. Then there's the high autonomy group. These are people who have a strong psychological need for self-determination. The whole concept of a day that tells you when and how to express affection feels like an infringement on your personal agency. It's not that you're against romance or love or connection, you're against being told how to demonstrate those things according to someone else's timeline. Research in self-determination theory shows that when people feel externally controlled, they experience something called reactance, which is basically your brain's way of saying, "You're not the boss of me." For these individuals, Valentine's Day isn't romantic, it's coercive. There's also a third category that doesn't get talked about enough. People with what psychologists call abstract relationship conceptualization. Your brain tends to think about love and connection in broader, more complex terms than a single day can capture. You're not dismissing romance, you're actually taking it more seriously than the Valentine's Day framework allows for. You recognize that real intimacy is built through consistency, communication, trust, and 1,000 small moments that have nothing to do with pre-fixed menus or heart-shaped jewelry. Trying to condense that into one manufactured day feels reductive to you. It's like trying to explain the ocean by showing someone a cup of salt water. And here's where it gets really interesting. There's actual neuroscience behind why some people respond to social pressure differently than others. The anterior cingulate cortex is the part of your brain that processes social expectations and monitors for conflicts between what you're expected to do and what you actually want to do. For some people, this region is highly sensitive to social norms. They experience genuine distress when they're out of step with what everyone else is doing. For others, this region is less reactive. You can observe that everyone around you is doing something, acknowledge that's happening, and still not feel compelled to join in. A study published in Cognitive, Affective, and Behavioral Neuroscience found that people with lower social conformity tendencies showed different patterns of activation in this brain region when presented with majority opinions. Their brains simply didn't register social pressure as something requiring action. This isn't stubbornness or contrarianism, it's literally a different neurological response to group behavior. But society doesn't make it easy for you, because here's the problem. When you say you don't care about Valentine's Day, people hear it as a statement about love itself. They assume you're either heartbroken, aromantic, or going through some kind of emotional defense mechanism. The idea that you could be in a perfectly happy relationship and still think Valentine's Day is pointless doesn't compute for a lot of people. They need you to have a reason that fits their understanding of how emotions work. This creates what psychologists call expressive dissonance, which is when there's a gap between what you're actually feeling and what people expect you to be feeling. You aren't sad, you're not angry, you're not even particularly opposed to the holiday existing, you just don't personally connect with it. But you can't really explain that without sounding defensive because the cultural script is so strong that opting out is interpreted as a statement rather than just a preference. And the commercialization of it all doesn't help. There's research showing that when emotional experiences become commodified, some people experience what's called market alienation. You start to feel like authentic emotion is being packaged and sold back to you, and it creates this weird psychological distance from the thing being sold. You're not against love, you're against the industrialization of it. You're not cold or unromantic, you're just allergic to the commercialization of intimacy. Think about how strange it actually is when you step back. We've collectively agreed that love is most valid when expressed through specific consumer purchases on a specific date. Flowers that cost triple their normal price. Restaurants that run special menus they don't offer any other day of the year. Jewelry ads that suggest your relationship is inadequate without a diamond. The whole thing is a masterclass in manufactured demand, and if you're someone whose brain doesn't respond well to that kind of social engineering, Valentine's Day is going to feel hollow no matter how much you care about your partner. Here's something else researchers have noticed. People who don't engage with Valentine's Day often have what's called a task-oriented rather than occasion-oriented approach to relationships. You show love through actions, consistency, and presence, rather than grand gestures tied to specific dates. You're the person who remembers your partner mentioned wanting something 6 months ago and gets it for them on a random Tuesday. You're the one who shows up when things are hard, not just when the calendar says it's time to be romantic. For you, love is a practice, not a performance. But even that gets misunderstood. People assume if you're not participating in Valentine's Day, you must not be doing anything romantic at all. They can't conceive of romance existing outside the prescribed framework. It's like they need the structure of the holiday to understand that affection is happening. Without it, they're lost. And if you're single and don't care about Valentine's Day, the assumptions get even weirder. People think you must be lonely, bitter, or in denial about wanting a relationship. The idea that you could be genuinely content and also unbothered by a holiday about romantic love is apparently impossible for some people to grasp. But research on single adults shows that many report high levels of life satisfaction and don't experience Valentine's Day as a negative event. They're just living their lives, and February 14th is just another day in that life. The truth is, not caring about Valentine's Day doesn't mean you don't care about love. It means you have a different relationship with how love gets expressed and recognized. You're not broken, you're not missing out, you're just operating from a different psychological framework than the one our culture has decided is standard. So, if February 14th is coming and you're feeling exactly 0% excited about it, know that you're not alone. You're not defective, you're just someone whose brain doesn't assign emotional significance to culturally prescribed romantic performances. And honestly, that might mean you're thinking about love in a more authentic way than people who need a calendar to tell them when to care. Alright, I'm curious. Do you care about Valentine's Day, or does it feel like just another Thursday to you? Drop a comment and let me know if this resonated. And if you want more content that makes you feel less weird about the way your brain works, I've got plenty more where this came from. See you in the next one.